Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials on any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com.
Why it is saying request timed out? What is the problem? Because the IP address is not 192.168. It's a static. Okay, this is correct. Command prompt IP config. I would say ping 192.168.1.1. Let me ping himself and let me see what is happening. Now he's not able to ping either. Interesting. Boy, the simulator is working or not? Are you guys doing with me? Can you check whether you are pinging? Why it's not pinging?
Sir, sorry to
So
interrupt you. You have given 192.169 dot you have given for the first PC, I think so. Can you please check it?
that's the problem. Good. It's the mistake. What about others? What? Yeah. Why it is like that? Why they are not pinging? Because the network is completely different. Am I right? Now it's pinging. Correct. So that was the typing mistake. So you can see it's pinging. Now you can say I can set up my LAN. Now people ask me, do I require to set up any IP address for my switch? To be honest, you really don't require to set any IP address to configure your switch at all. If I just want to use that particular LAN network, if I would like to do the configuration of the switch over the IP address, then yes. Now this is the first time brand new switch I have configured. I simply attach the switch to some cables and I just gave the IP address to the respective computers and it started working, no doubt about it. But make sure I have done the mistake that I put 169. Now that is a complete different network, correct? If it is a class C, 169 is a complete different network. So if I try to change the network, they are not able to communicate with each other at all, correct? So that is not a responsibility of the router. That is not a responsibility of the switch. That is a responsibility of the router. But currently we are not interested in this router at all. We just want to focus on local area connection and we want to focus on switch. Correct? Now this particular switch which I have connected, which is a brand new switch, you can consider that. Correct? Now I want to configure this switch for the first time. I told you there are two options to configure the switch. Either I can configure the switch with connecting a console cable, or I can configure the switch either with the help of Telnet or SSH protocol remotely, but not with auxiliary cable. It would be happen on Ethernet side. Correct? So let's say this computer which I'm talking about, this is nothing but this is my IT department. Correct? You can see this is my IT department over here. Correct? Anything. This is my IT department, and they said I want to configure this particular switch. Correct. Now, how do we do that? Correct. Now he has two options. First, he's connected with Ethernet cable at this moment of time. He can configure the switch with the help of Ethernet connections. However, condition apply. Now, if I would like to configure the router over the Ethernet connection, I'm not talking about console or auxiliary. I'm talking about our fast Ethernet. Then I need to provide the IP address to switch and access the switch with Telnet or SSH, any either way. But you have to make sure that you have to put the IP address to switch. Currently, to be honest, I don't require any configuration to be done for my switch if I just want to connect my computer. If I don't want to configure anything, something like this, I cannot do that. But I will tell you both the way. First, we will see how to connect a console cable and how to configure the switch and how we can see it, how to access the command line of a switch through the console cable. So first, understand how to configure the switch. Now the same steps are applicable to the router as well. So we are not repeating for the router. Same steps with console. So what I will do, you can see here, there is a console cable over here somewhere. Okay, this is the console cable. What I will do, this is my IT computer, am I right? RS323 is nothing but a COM port on a computer. I will connect the cable from here to console port of the switch. Correct? By mistake, both the colors are same actually, but this is the cable. So one end of that cable, now this is what type of cable which I have connected? I told you, rollover cable. Correct? This is my rollover cable. Okay, one end is nothing but a COM port, other end is RJ45, which I connected to the console port. And I know that both the things are at the same time, means both the computer and your switch, they are located at the same physical location. Correct? Now what should I do next? Now here I don't, if I want to configure through the console port, I do not necessary to put any IP address on the switch. I can directly connect it. Correct? Now how do I do that? If I go to my computer, you require a special software, which we can call it as Termination Emulation Program. Remember that. If I would like to access any particular Cisco devices through the console port, I required a specific program to be installed on your computer. That particular program would be considered as Terminal Emulation Program. Okay. Now we know that there are many terminal emulation program. You already used it. One is called as Hyper Terminal. Now this is we are not using anymore. Normally in Windows XP computer, we used to get this Hyper Terminal software pre-installed by Microsoft, but nowadays we do not have it. We need to download it externally, and it's very basic software. Second very interesting software which you can already use, this is called as Putty. Okay, this is also called as Terminal Emulation Program. Then there is a program called as Term. This could also be used as terminal emulation program. Then there is a secure CRT, I believe, and for the Mac OS X terminal. These all are terminal emulation program. That means if I would like to connect any particular Cisco device, and if I would like to access it on the console side on my computer, I should have any of this program installed. Correct? Now in our simulation, if I go to my computer, we will see any termination emulation program is there. Okay, this is a terminal emulation program. They can call it as terminal. In real life, it is not like that. I simply say okay. Now you can see you got the access of the switch. Correct. I will close it one more time. I will I just want to power cycle all the devices. Okay. I just want to show you how it is booting right now. You can see I am connected with the console cable. My switch was booted. Now I am able to access all the command line with the help of console prompt. Okay. Now this terminal is nothing but the hyper terminal software or terminal emulation software is there. Now if you are using Putty, so I do have installed Putty on my local machine. It is not in that packet tracer. You can see there is an option called as serial. Okay, if I go to the serial, it will ask you that on which COM port. Every particular computer do have a COM port, correct? So you need to tell him that which COM port which is connected to the COM1, COM2, COM3 or not, correct? Now say open. Once you open this, then he will take that port, whatever signals which are coming through that particular port, it will start displaying that signal on the putty. Same thing which we have done right now. What I did, I go here, I open the terminal, I say okay. Now what is happening on that particular console port, this particular computer is able to display it with the help of terminals. So I am able to connect my particular computer to my particular switch with the help of console cable. Correct? Now this is one method. If I say no, I cannot keep one computer connected all the time to this particular switch. I do have 100 of switches. What should I do? But I would like to do the administration day-to-day task. I cannot all the time go connect the console cable, then do the configuration. No. Then I do have the second option that, okay, if you don't want to do that, you do have a second option. The second option would be, and first time you have to do it, you don't have a choice. Set up an IP address to the switch and access that switch with the help of IP address and with the help of IP address and the protocol would be either a telnet or your particular SSH. So I do have two options. Either I don't want to do it for the first time, you can connect the wire, configure some IP address on this particular switch. Technically speaking, I told you, in order to work on the switch, you really don't require any IP address to be configured. Simply connect your computer, put the IP address to your client devices, my switch will start working on it. However, this is a manageable device. I would like to do any configuration, I would like to set a few things manually, then I need to go and log into this particular switch. However, I cannot connect the cable all the time to the switch, correct? So the option is to set up the IP address to the switch when you have connected that particular IP address, and you can take the SSH or Telnet on this particular computer. Then you don't require a console cable. You are directly connected through your Ethernet cable. That's it.
Hey viewers, our Master in DevOps engineering program can help you to hone the skills necessary to succeed in high-level DevOps positions. So, what are you waiting for? Enroll now and earn certification that show you are keeping pace with today's technical roles and requirements. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
Correct? Now we will see that we will take the same scenario and we will be going to see and understand how to configure Telnet and how to configure SSH, what are the different type of passwords which we can set up, correct? Now we will see step by step each and every process now, correct? Now let's understand very important thing first of all, correct? Before we jump into the command line, you should understand few things for your command lines, and that particular command line which we are executing, what are the different things are available over there, correct? Now you can simply find out if I go to this. Okay, now I can also in simulator this facility is given. Okay, in real life this facility is not available. In real life you have to do SSH only, correct? Telnet is also not possible because Telnet is a plain text protocol. But in simulator we do have an option that I can directly click on it and I will directly able to get the command prompt of it, correct? So that is possible. So remember that before we jump into actual command line activity to all of you guys, you should know what are the different command modes are available in Cisco devices. Now this is also applicable for both so router and switches, correct? So what are the command modes are available? Now there are almost 5 different mode are available. The first mode is called as user mode. I will tell you what is that. Second mode is called as privilege mode. Third one is called as global configuration mode. Fourth one is called as interface mode. Okay. Fifth one is called as ROM mode, or you can say mini iOS mode, or you can say safe mode, or you can say ROM mode. Okay. Correct. Now there is one more mode interestingly available now, that is available in router actually, that is called as sub interface mode. Okay. Second one is called as setup mode. Correct. These are the different type of modes are available at this moment of time. Correct. Now remember, you just need to make sure, correct, what mode which you are working on it, and what mode can give you what type of facility, correct. Now if you understand this, that would be easy for you to handle any type of your particular modes or any type of command. You don't need to bother about anything, correct. Now you can see user mode. Okay, now before you go, I will take one router as well. Okay, I will pick one router and I will tell you their mode as well. I will take 2901. Now this is router, correct. Now both the interfaces wise and both the modes are identical, but there are some additional mode available on the router because it has some additional functionality. Switch does not have that mode, but some modes are common. That is, the basic modes are common in both the cases, correct. So if I go to this particular router and if I click on it, okay, you can see currently he's asking for something. Would you like to enter initial configuration of the dialog? Now this question was not asked in terms of switch, because switch does not require any initial configuration. I told you, simply power on it, connect your cables, connect your end devices, provide the IP address, which will start working. But router is not something like that. Router needs to have some initial configuration required, which is mandatory, because currently I don't have any configuration at all because my NVRAM, do you remember, my NVRAM is completely blank. This is the new router I purchased. Currently my router won't be able to find out any initial configuration. That's why he's asking for this question. Now this mode is called as setup mode. This mode would be called it as setup mode, where my NVRAM does not contain any configuration. Okay, this would be called it as setup mode, correct. Now R1 mode is actually typically, I told you, it is a debugging mode, or majority of time if I would like to do any kind of a troubleshooting or sometime your password related problems, then I prefer to go for R1 mode. So you can say for password recovery or certain troubleshooting step, I should go for R1. Correct? But currently my router, I took the router and he's asking me the question why? Because my NVRAM does not contain any information. So currently he want the configuration to be stored over there. That's why it's asking for me some initial configuration. Now, if I say yes right now, he will keep asking me multiple questions, correct? So this mode currently will say it is a setup mode, correct? That's fine. But I would say no. I would say no, correct? Now currently I am into this particular mode. Okay. Now I got the access of this particular mode at this moment of. Now this mode, look at the sign of this mode, correct? This mode would be considered as user mode, correct? User mode is very basic monitoring command which you can execute in user mode, correct? If you can see this mode which I'm currently logged in, it is a user mode. Look at this particular sign. This is an indication that I am in the user mode. I do not have any ability, means I can only fire. Correct? I can only fire the basic command in this particular mode. If I put the question mark, now Cisco operating system will give you the beautiful help. One of the help which you can use it's called as question mark. Now if I put the question mark, this question mark is nothing but help. This is the beauty of the Cisco operating system. Correct? Now if I put the question mark, he will give me set of command which you can execute in this particular mode under user mode. Correct? So user mode is the very first mode which your device is logged in. Correct? Only basic command can executed over here. Okay, only basic commands are executed over here. I should say just basic commands, monitoring commands. Okay, that is also monitoring commands. That is also not any other command, just monitoring commands would get executed over here. Remember that. So if I only put the question mark is a very beautiful implementation in Cisco IS. I can get how many commands I can execute in user mode. You can see this is. Now these are main commands. If I say, let me fire the show command. Show means you would like to show what is happening. I would say show, under show what option can I execute, once again put the question mark. Then he will say under show, these are the options which you can use it. Correct? I will say show, show is already there, show flash. That will tell me the what is the flash which I am using, the flash memory. If I say show IP interface brief, now nothing is configured, so is not going to show me anything. So this is called as user mode, where I can execute basic set of command. What is the main command I can execute? You can put the question mark. These are the main commands. Now show is one of the main command who can display the information. Ping command I can execute. Logout means execute logout from this particular device. Correct? Now you can see there are only few command set I can use it. These are main command. Correct? I can only do basic level monitoring on the top of user mode. Remember that this is very important approach. Correct? User mode is only for doing the basic activity. After that, they do have privilege mode. Now privilege mode will give you the ability to execute all the monitoring commands. All monitoring commands. Okay. Whatever, where I in user mode, I do have some restriction to see something. It's a very basic mode. But in my particular privilege mode, I do have all the privileges to see everything, but only monitor. Remember that. I can see the things, but that is only monitor. I am not able to modify the things. I can only see the things. I cannot modify. But here, complete monitoring activity would be there. Correct? In the privilege mode. But how do I logged into the privilege mode? Okay, if you look at our previous output, in our normal user mode, there is a command called as enable. What it's saying? Turn on the privileged command. So if I fire the command enable, I am going from user mode to the privilege mode. You can see there is a hash sign now. This is an indication that you are in the privilege mode right now.
Hey viewers, trying to get into DevSecOps? Enroll for our DevSecOps certified professional programs and earn the certification that shows you are fit for these technical roles and requirements. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
Which command should I type? I type the command called as enable, which is coming from the normal user mode to the privilege mode. Now here, if I put the question mark, here many commands I can use as compared to my first user mode. Correct. Now this is many show commands I can use it over here. Means you can see all basic monitoring commands. I said only monitoring commands would be applicable over here. No problem. This is a second level of your command line mode. Correct. Now the third mode would be global configuration mode. Now this is the mode which will help you to do the modification in settings. Means if I would like to configure anything, okay, any configuration changes. So here changes are allowed. Changes are allowed. I can do the changes in only global configuration mode only. Correct? In simple global configuration mode, I can do the changes. Correct? I do not have any ability to do the changes in a privilege mode or in a user mode. Correct? You can see that particular thing only available in a global configuration mode. This is the changes are available. Correct? I cannot do the changes in user mode. User mode is very basic. Second mode is a privilege mode where I got much more ability to only see. Means visibility is border. Global configuration mode would be where I can do the changes now. Correct? Now, how do I go to the global configuration mode? Simple thing. There is a command over here. Okay, there is a command called as configure. Enter configuration mode. Correct? So if I say the command called as configure terminal, enter. Now currently I am in which mode? Config mode. That means I am in a global configuration mode. That means whatever configuration which I am doing right now, global means it would be applicable to all the router. Correct? So this is what it says right now. I am able to log in to the global configuration mode. Now changes are allowed. You can modify the things. Correct? So remember, by default, you logged into the user mode. Correct? If I want to change from user mode to the privilege mode, I should fire the command called as enable. Correct? From privilege mode to the global configuration mode, I should fire the command called as configure terminal. Correct? So you have to follow this particular thing, because here is the problem. If I'm in the user mode and I want to go to the global configuration mode, I cannot jump from user mode to the global configuration mode. I have to go to the privilege mode, and from privilege mode only I can go to the global configuration. Same thing, if I exit out of the mode, I want to exit out of this mode, I can fire the command called as exit. Correct? If I go back, I will be going back to what? I would be going back to the privilege mode. And after that, if I exit it, I would be going back to the particular user mode. Correct? So this is a sequence. So I cannot jump from user mode to the global configuration mode. If I want to exit, I cannot directly exit from global to user. It has to go through that particular series. Correct? Now this is called as global configuration mode. I said whatever configuration you want to apply it on every section of the router, this is the mode. Correct? But if I say I want to only apply few settings on only one interface. Interface means our fast Ethernet port. You remember that this is a fast Ethernet port is available. We can call it as interface. Interface means the fast Ethernet port on the router where you connected your LAN, means your local area connection. We can call it as interface. Now, if I would like to do some settings for only that interface, only that particular fast Ethernet, then I do have the interface mode. Now, this is only applicable for the router. The previous one, user mode, privilege mode, global configuration mode, it is common between switch and router. You will find both. Correct? After that, interface mode, Armon mode. Armon mode is also available in the switch, but it is not useful, to be honest. Okay, majority cases Armon is available, but interface mode is also available in the switch, but the purpose is completely different. I will show you. Interface mode is also available in switcher, but majorly it is useful in our particular router. But there is an interface mode in the switch also available. But if I would like to do only settings for such only one interface, I need to go to that interface mode. I will show you. First of all, see how many Ethernet or fast Ethernet port available on the router. I will say show IP interface brief. Now I do have gigabyte 0 plus 0 and gigabyte 0 plus 1. These are two Ethernet port is available on the router. We can call it as interface. Correct? Now, if I would like to go to this interface, first I need to go to the configuration terminal. Correct? I will say interfaced gigabyte 0/0. Look at the command line very carefully. I press enter. Now look at this prompt now. Where I am right now. I am actually inside this interface. Now, whatever settings I will do, it is only applicable for this interface. I will set the IP address, I will set the full duplex, I will set the half duplex, I will set some bandwidth, everything, it would be applicable for this interface. Correct? Remember that global configuration mode, if I go exit, once again I will come to here. Whatever common configuration which you want to do it, you have to run the command in a global configuration mode. If you want to do only specific setting to a specific port, like it could be interface like a fast Ethernet, it could be a console interface, it could be an auxiliary interface, correct? Then it has to be going into that prompt only. Whatever settings which I am doing after this command, it is only applicable to this interface only. Remember that it is not globally available. There is another interface 01. If I fire any settings over here, whatever settings are available, that setting is not available to 01 because it is available to only this. this configuration. Remember that this is important for you, correct? So this is called as interface mode, correct? Only applicable configuration for specific interface. This is very important because whenever we are doing command line activity, we are doing a lot of things regarding interface. A specific settings I can configure for the interface only. So that is something which we can do it, correct? So interface, you need to go for interface very precisely, correct? Now sub interface. Now there is a virtual interface I can create on a physical. For example, I will give an example over here. Let's say I do have a router. It contains only one interface. That means only one physical interface. Okay. And I do have a switch. Now inside the switch, I do have multiple networks connected. Now multiple network means I do have some computers connected with some different IP address family. There are a group of people who is connected with different IP address family. There are some group of people which is connected with some different IP address family, correct? Now you can see all the things are connected over here. I will give you the interesting thing about sub interfaces when we talked about VLAN, because this situation comes in VLAN. Okay, now for every network, now this is a different network, this is a different network, and this is a different network. This every network has to go to the router, and router should let him go outside the internet if they want to go, correct? Now the thumb rule is like this. This interface should have one IP address assigned for only one network. That means if I configure the IP address for this interface 192.168.1.1, this is the IP address of interface, then this particular router interface only serve the request for the network called as 192.168.1.0. Then other network, for example, this is working on the 10.0.0, okay, and this is working on 172.16.0.0. This both the networks will not go out because router is having this IP address. Why? Because the interface is having the IP address from this family. Then what is the solution? Should I purchase 3 more interfaces in order to serve this? No. Now that time sub interfaces come into the picture. I do not put any interface IP address. What I will do, I will create 3 virtual interface. I will not give any IP address to physical interface at all. What I will do, I will create 3 virtual interface by saying 1, 2, 3, something like that. Now for first virtual interface, I will give the IP address of this network. For second interface, I would give the IP address of this network. Third interface, I will give the IP address of this network. So practically speaking, this single interface allowed to run the traffic of all 3 networks now. Why? Because I have configured 3 virtual interface. Practically it is not available, but virtually I'm sending the traffic end of the day to this interface only. That is called as sub interface. Now currently, if you look at to my router, now this facility sub interface is only available in router, it is not available in switches. Now if you look at here, if I say show IP interface brief, now there is one more interesting thing about Cisco iOS. I can use the shortcuts. I do not necessarily to type the every single word of the command. This is a beauty of Cisco iOS software. So if I type show IP interface brief, if I press enter, you will see there is a 1 GB in Ethernet card. This is only one. But let's say I'm in this situation. I want to send the traffic of all these 3 networks to this gigabyte interface. What should I do? I will go to the config T. I need to go to the configuration mode. I should type interface gigabyte 0/0.1.
Hey viewers, are you looking for formal training on SRE practices? Take our SRE program. This course will teach you how to successfully implement site reliability engineering in the modern day 24/7 services. Kickstart your SRE training today. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
Press enter. Now you can see in which mode I am coming over here. I am coming to the sub interface mode. Correct? That means whatever configuration which I would be doing over here, it would be only applicable to this sub interface. Even it is not applicable to this interface. There is a virtual interface which you have created. If I say do show IP interface brief, you can say there is one more interface has been added, but this is not physically present. It is only available virtually. For this, on behalf of this is practically working for you. Correct? This is called as sub interface, and if I want to do configure sub interface, I need to go into the sub interface mode first. So if I would like to do any configuration in sub interface mode, I need to make sure that those setting is only applicable to that interface only. It is not applicable to any other interface at all. Is that clear? So these are the different type of modes are available on your routers or switches. If I would like to go to the switch, okay, this is my switch. I will directly go here. We don't have a setup mode. I will say enable, same method, config T. I want to see interfaces. So if I say I need to go back here, I will say show interface. You can see all the interfaces would be available over here, whatever 24 interfaces are there. And if I want to go to any interface into the switch also, I will say interface fast Ethernet 0/1. I would be into that interface. So if I do anything on this, it would be only applicable to that interface number. Correct? So here also I have a user mode, I have a privilege mode, I have a configuration mode, I have a ROM mode. ROM mode is only for troubleshooting, as well as interface mode. Sub interface mode is not available on the switch. It is only available on the router side. Is that clear to everyone? Any changes or anything? If you have any questions, please ask me. Okay, it is done. Okay, good. So there is no change, no doubts, I believe. I hope only. What about others? Only Gandhi is responding me. What about others? Okay. Chaitra is saying also no doubt. So what I will do, so you know how to connect with the console cable and everything. Now the next task would be how to set up the passwords. How to set up the password. Now this password setup is very, very important, correct? These password setups are very, very mandatory thing as per the security is concerned, correct? Now what are the type of password which we can actually set up? Now remember that the very first activity we will teach everyone to set up the security for the devices. Now the first thing, the first way to enter my router is my console prompt. Am I right? So I should set the password for that. Am I right? I should set the password for console prompt. Second password, I should be able to access the auxiliary port. So you can see these are the commands which we can use it. Correct? You can see these are the three commands. First, go to the prompt. Went inside the prompt. Tell my prompt the password for console would be Cisco, and you should ask the password when somebody want to log in. I said okay. Let's try to test it. Okay. So I will go from exit. Now currently I'm logged in through console only. So I should get exit. Now what it's asking for? It directly asking for password. What password we have configured? Cisco. Am I able to log in? Yes. Correct. I'm connected through console cable. So currently I'm running through terminal. I'm trying to enter the password. I'm able to log in. So that means I'm successfully able to set up the console password. Correct. Now the second password which we would like to set up, it's for enable. If I say enable right now, he can immediately able to do that. Correct. Now I would like to set up the password for enable prompt. So what I will do, once again, I will go to the config mode because I would like to do the modification. Correct. Now what I will do, I want to set up the password for enable. Now enable, it's a common password. So you can go to the telnet. Okay. Enable is a global setting. It is not available for any kind of interface on the router. Correct. So it has to be done in a global configuration mode. I will say enable password. I will give the same password called as Cisco. Enter. Correct. Once again, I am doing everything in a running configuration. Okay. I will say exit. Exit. Correct. Now, once again, which password is asking for? He's asking for console password first. I said okay. Now I am into the user mode. Now let's want to go to the privilege mode. Now, once again, it's asking for the password. Now this password he's asking for what? He's asking for my enable password. So I am able to log into the enable mode. So the command for is enable password, and whatever password you want to type it, you can type that particular. Correct? I agree. No problem. Now the third password which you would like to set up is for Telnet. Now Telnet does not have any prompt over. There is no port available for the Telnet. Am I right? There is no terminal available for Telnet. So Telnet is what? Telnet is virtual terminal. It will help you to create a virtual terminal. So how many terminals I can create on a single Cisco device? You can see there are 16 parallel connections can be connected to the device. through Telnet through SSH. So people say I'm confused, sir. Okay, I will explain. Okay. Let's say I do have this switch and I do have multiple administrator who is accessing this switch. Now I'm talking about network administrator. Cisco has done, they said, I gave you the console port, you can set up the password. I gave you the auxiliary port, you can set up the password. Correct? Now these two ports are physically available, so it's very easy. Now, whatever people who want to access my device through Telnet. Now Telnet does not have any physical port, it is a virtual. So any Cisco device will allow 16 people can log into that Cisco devices through Telnet or through SSH, through virtual terminal you can say. So he will create 16 virtual terminal, correct? We can call it as VTY. Okay, VTY stand for virtual terminal. So what number we can start? There are 0 to 15 virtual terminals you can create. 0 to 15 virtual terminal. Correct? Now remember that for every set of terminal, I can set a different password. I can say, okay, so total would be 16. Okay. I would say 0 to 4 should use this password 1, 2, 3. Okay. 5 to 10 can use the password 3, 2, 1. Yes, you can do that. Okay. 10 to 15 should use this password 15. Sorry. Should use this password. Yes, it is technically possible. I can rather give a single password for 0 to 15, or else I can split this virtual connection, and based on that I will set up some different password to that particular route. Correct? But technically speaking, nobody can allow 16 people to do the telnet of your switch. Correct? In production environment, whoever network administrator are there, only those virtual terminal would be created. If I say I have 5 employees who is handling my network, I will say 0 to 4 only. I don't require to give any additional virtual port to be enabled, because any given point of a time, if you have enabled any virtual port, he should accept something, whether it's a wrong password, but accepting it. So that is a security breach. So you can see 0 to 4 would be the option which we can use. So total 5 parallel connection would be acceptable, and 5 people can logged in parallelly with this password, either with the telnet or with the help of SSH. Correct? Now we will see telnet first, and after that we will see how we can configure SSH, because normally telnet we are not using it at all, because it is a plain text protocol. But for exam perspective, you should know how to configure the telnet as well. Correct? And we will only configure an 5 terminals for that. Only 5 terminals for that particular thing. Correct? So I would say I will go to the switch. Now I will once again go to the config terminal mode. Now what I want to set? I want to set the virtual terminals. Okay, so I will say line. If I put the question mark, correct? Do I have the option called as VTY? Yes. I will say VTY. It is asking me 0 to 15. Am I right? But I don't want 16 connection to be connected. I don't want that. I said 0 to 5. Only 5 connections are allowed. Sorry, 0 to 4 means only 5 connections are allowed. Once again, I have changed the prompt. Now I am doing the setting for these 5 connections which I have allowed it. Correct? I will say password is Cisco, and it is for login. Correct? So these are the command for to set up the password for Telnet. Okay, I have done this. Correct. But one more thing which we need to do it, as I told you, that which IP address should I do the Telnet? Correct. I should save, or I should set the IP address to this particular switch. Technically, you don't require it, but right now I do require it because I want to do the remote administration of the switch. So I will set one IP address to the switch as well. Now it should be in the same range, okay? Whatever network which you have created, currently it should be in the same range. Okay. I will say interface VLAN 1 IP. Now don't worry about the command what I'm doing right now. Just focused on telnet part. Okay. That is important. Okay, IP address I will say 192.168.1.10. Okay, subnet mask would be 255.255.255.0. Correct. I will come here.
Thanks for watching. Want to study further? Join our training programs today.